Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Untranslatable podcast, Perspectives of an ESL or EFL Teacher. I am here with my guy who is super fly, my co-host Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, I am Superfly. I assume you're saying I'm Superfly because you noticed my Nike hoodie.
That's right. That's right.
For more of these shenanigans, follow us on Twitter at Untranslatable1, Instagram Untranslatable Podcast, or you can email us at the untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us stuff, stories, untranslatables.
Compliments. We always love compliments.
Yeah, or you can even direct those compliments just to a review. That might be simpler.
That'd
and
be
more
way better.
direct. And
For
the
sure.
whole world can see how much you love us.
Mm-hmm.
5-star review. How's it going, buddy? How's Kumatov?
Chomutov is going well, man. I got a bike yesterday.
Nice. What kind?
It's just like a kind of a basic road bike. It says
Okay.
Mercury on it. I
Okay.
don't know if that's like the brand or like the model. But
Did
it's
you buy it?
It's blue. No, I'm borrowing it from a colleague of mine. It's her dad's, and I guess he never used it. So he's had it for a few years, and we got it, and it was super dusty. So I think they were telling me the truth when they said he didn't really use it. So yeah, I'm planning on doing some epic bike rides. There are some trails that actually connect Chomutov with some of the other neighboring towns. So if I ever get to uploading some pictures, I'll have to get some on the bike trails.
Stop. Just stop. Now you're just being mean. I do hope to, though. I mean, forget the pictures. You might not take pictures, but I do can't wait to hear the podcast episode about it.
Right, for sure.
Because I can at least get you to do that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's very true. What's cool about the bike, though, man, is it's got... So a lot of the bikes I've seen in the States that have lights, you either have to charge them, some are solar powered, right? Mm-hmm. This light, it's really cool. It actually...
I know how it works.
Okay, yeah, it clips onto the wheel. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I've never seen a light like that before, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, it is a simple but genius thing. It just clips to the wheel and takes the energy from the spinning wheel, and then the only thing is when you stop, the light doesn't. Although sometimes some of them will stay on for a bit after, so I take that back.
I haven't ridden this one yet to know, but I'll give you my consensus a little later.
But yeah, it's a simple technology that works.
Yeah.
But can you do that with LEDs? I don't know if you can. You probably can.
I don't know. I don't have a degree in mechanical engineering, so I'm the wrong guy.
I don't know if you
to
need a
ask
degree
Jared.
to know that. I just think you need to be smarter than us. I don't know if that requires a degree.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Just basic knowledge of LEDs, which I have more basic knowledge about language teaching than I do with LEDs.
Yeah,
but we can get into that later.
That's for sure. I think we need to take a moment, silence, pour some out for Mac Miller.
Yes, sir.
This one was a sad one for me, because I guess it never really crossed my mind that I was like, oh yeah, like I listened to him all the time when I was like in high school and college and stuff like that.
Right.
And it is always sad but nice to see all the people after that say all the things like, oh, he was always one of the nicest dudes in the business. And it's like, I feel like people don't throw that out there lightly. There's really no reason to.
Right. Yeah. I think you can usually tell, in general, I think after someone passes, what kind of an impact they had on people. Just like you said, the way they react. I also have to say though, well, first of all, obviously, rest in peace, Mac Miller, without a doubt. I think he was one of the greats of our generation in terms of not only a rapper and a lyricist, but also as a musician. I think, there are stories of him going into like guitar centers and just kind of being like a little kid, like trying everything out. And like, he just had this, obviously I never had the fortune of meeting him, but I mean, through his music, you can tell he had this kind of playfulness,
I've seen him in concert before. I think he was, opening for like Wiz Khalifa or something like that.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Makes sense. Both Pittsburgh guys.
Yeah. I might have somewhere. Maybe it was Michigan State or something like that. But yeah, okay. Or maybe it was in Clarkston at the DTE.
DTE, place. Right?
But either way, yeah. But yeah.
It was sad news, man. We found out right after we had finished recording our last episode
Right. Now people know how long it takes for us to
Right.
put these out. But
Shouldn't have revealed our secrets. But yeah. So we send our prayers and our condolences to his family and also all the fans out there. I mean, this really hit me. I mean, I've been listening to his music all day now.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of it yesterday, the day that we found out. It's a like you forget like how part of the generation my generation he was until I go back and listen. Some of these songs that I hadn't listened to in years, and I just like knew all the lyrics to it when I was singing them. Like I just heard it like last week or something like that. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how well I knew like a lot of these songs.
I think that goes to show you though how good his music was though too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Do you have a favorite Mac Miller song?
The first one I went to go play, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I will say the first one I went to play was Down the Rabbit Hole. Okay. I don't know why I like that one, because it's not my favorite, but it's probably one of the earlier ones. It's probably now I want to like pull up my iTunes and see if I can like, because I can't think of the. It's been a long time since I've listened to like some of those earlier albums, but like. I like the Kids album. That album,
that's such a great album.
Was played a lot. That album in general was probably played the most. But it's just been so long now. I have to pull it. I can pull it up if you want.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
I gotta open my.
Also, his new album that just came out was really really good too. I think is it Swimming or Swimming Pools?
I have not listened to it.
Give it a listen. It's really good. I'd have to say, though, without a doubt, also kind of ironic that this is the song that's my favorite after our previous top of the pod chat on our last episode. But Nike's on My Feet is, I think, by far one of my favorites by him.
By the way, I just pulled up in my iTunes. I have 206 Mac Miller songs.
Oh, wow. Also, Fight the Feeling with Kendrick Lamar is a fantastic song. That one is also one of my favorites. But yeah,
it's really annoying that we can't play stuff. But excuse me,
I know,
can't
right?
Play stuff, by the way.
But oh well, we might just have to post a link to a couple songs, on our social media. At least we can do that and won't get in trouble. But yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I also like the album The High Life. That was a good album too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
They're all good. I mean, really, that's. Yeah, he was just a quality artist, and
I like the song Outside.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. I mean, man, we
Kool-Aid
could sit
or Frozen Pizza. That's a classic.
That's
one.
A classic, of course. Senior Skip Day.
Oh yes, I love that.
That's a good one too. What's that one song he did that was sampled from Owl City?
I can't find that just from. Won't be able to pull that out just by looking through.
Not
song
important,
titles.
but that's a really good one too. That's a really good one too. But yeah, and man, it really hits you too, I think, when an artist passes that's pretty much the same age as you.
Yeah. I mean,
really.
I didn't realize, and that's what I was talking about. I didn't realize how square in our quote unquote generation he was, because he was born in the same year as me. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I knew it's weird to think that I've like been listening to this dude's music since high school, and it's like, oh yeah, he was the exact same age as I was that entire time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just different when you see somebody who's like famous or a celebrity, I feel like, because it's almost like a lot of people put them on like a different like level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, but and I also have to say too, so when I was in high school, sadly, one of my, he was a younger student, but he passed away in like a really tragic jet ski accident. And I guess Mac Miller somehow found out about it and I forget which music video it was, but on one of the music videos, you can see him wearing one of the, Nick King was this kid's name, and he's wearing one of his bracelets on one of his music videos.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we really did lose a great one here.
Yeah.
We really did. But you know what I think is also really awful? There have been so many people that have been attacking and lashing out at Ariana Grande.
Saying it's her fault.
Exactly, which I think is just trash. No. That's just trash.
No, you can never blame. You can never blame someone else for someone's own problems.
Right. And I think, unfortunately, he had been battling, substance abuse issues for a while.
Right. That has nothing to do with anyone else.
Right. Exactly. But, what's also crazy, too, is I feel like a lot of people who are very creative, whether it's a musician or an artist, and like on a different level than like I would say like your normal people, right? I feel like they have like it's just weird. Like I feel like a lot of musicians out there have a lot of issues with, and artists too, with like substance abuse and different things. And I wonder if it's just like because actually, well, I don't really know why it is, but like it's interesting to think about. You know what I mean? Like. Because I think a lot of people would see a celebrity and be like, oh, I would love to have that life. But they have no idea what it's like to be in their shoes,
I agree with you. Like, it does seem to attract, any really artistic endeavor does seem to have a higher, attraction of certain levels of abuse. But you also mentioned the normal people part, and I think that's the thing, too, is that when the addiction is in... from the super artistic people, I think a lot of times people forget that they also are just normal people.
Very true. Good point.
And I think that also, exacerbates it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And that's not to undermine the people that are that quote unquote normal people, because a lot of those people don't know how to voice what's really going on. But I think just having that sort of also yes man attitude around these big artists that are is a very tough thing, and dealing with just being an artist in general, and to be able to have that sort of, and I think some of it also comes with where these feelings come from and where this sort of pain comes from.
Right.
They kind of work together, which is why people also fear getting sober and then losing that level, that feeling.
That's true. Yeah. Very good points. I feel like any time with, any type of drug or substance, I think a lot of people use it to kind of numb themselves. You know what I mean? And then when you get sober, not that I've, knock on wood, I've never had any substance abuse issues or anything, but from what I've heard,
family members that have dealt with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At least with alcoholism. Actually, a couple, too, with substance abuse.
I mean, I have too. Probably everyone has, but...
Right.
Yeah.
And I think some of it, though, too, is at least from, a couple of my family members who I've spoken with, they say that one of the scariest things about being sober is there isn't really a way to numb yourself, right? I mean, without using again, which is...
Right.
Which is, I think, why it's so difficult for a lot of people to stay sober, because life is hard sometimes, man. It really is.
Right.
But hopefully we can bring a little sunshine into everyone's lives with our Untranslatable podcast.
Yeah, you're right, man. Yeah, I think I need to go talk to a therapist. I'm going to end this episode over. It's going to be a really short episode this week.
Right. Right, only 13 minutes long.
Speaking of, people that are legends. I mean, you mentioned Mac Miller, Serena Williams.
Oh, man.
So I've only really seen headlines on this, but could you? You're a tennis fan, so I assume you know more about what happened. Could you, one, explain the issue with the umpire?
Sure.
And two, explain the aftermath?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, first of all, yeah, like Jared said, Serena is a legend in her own right, and also. Like we talked about on the previous episode, I loved her little spot on that Nike commercial with Kaepernick.
Yeah,
that was great. But yeah, so what happened was she was in. I'm pretty sure it was the U.S. Open Finals, which are also in actually she's from Compton, I guess, but still, I feel like she has a very large fan base in New York.
I mean, she has a large fan base
everywhere.
Everywhere.
For sure.
First of all, where there's black people, there's definitely going to be a Serena fan. But she's got fans everywhere.
Right. And she is such a great ambassador for the sport as well. But what happened, Jared, was the chair umpire, I guess, thought that her coach was coaching her. And so I don't remember if he gave her a warning or he gave Osaka, which was her opponent, a point. But he gave her a warning. That was one of the things that happened, is he gave her a warning. He basically just gave her a bunch of code violations. So first of all, like cheating, which she had gotten coaching from her coach. So in tennis,
Did you see the finals? Did you see?
Sadly, because I'm living in the Czech Republic,
Oh,
all
right,
of my like stuff doesn't
Cable
work right
subscriptions and whatnot.
Right.
Won't, yeah.
Right. So and I don't really feel like, shelling out the money for VPN just so I can see these. But yeah, so basically, the chair umpire, Carlos Ramos, he said that she was being coached by her coach, which in professional tennis is technically against the rules, which I don't really understand because in high school tennis, and I'm pretty sure in college tennis, in between sets, when you go to sit down or get a drink, you can talk with your coach. So why is it illegal? I think tennis is one of the only professional sports where you can't get coaching during the match. What?
Well, golf, I would say golf, but of course you can. You're talking to the caddy consistently.
Right. Well, and your caddy's not really your coach, though, are they?
I guess he's not your coach, but I guess he's the closest thing to your, not a coach, but like someone who's the only person that would be guiding you while you're out there, I guess.
Exactly. And I guess so what happened was, so Serena's coach, I think made some like hand motions, like to basically he wanted her to go to the net more, hit some volleys.
Okay.
And
did he actually make the hand motions, or is that what the guy was alleging?
I didn't watch the match, but after the match, the coach did say he was making hand motions. But what's also interesting is Serena said, and I really believe her, she said she wasn't looking at him, like she wasn't really paying attention to it. So whether or not she was really coached is kind of up to debate. Which I think definitely.
So that's why she was like talking to the umpire, saying like, "How dare you say I was cheating" or something like that.
Right.
Or it's like even if he was doing something, she's like, "I'm playing the game here. You think I'm looking into the stands?"
Exactly.
That seems like it would be really tough to even get coached like that. Like if you're
you
in a
need
game
special
like that,
hand signals or something,
and you like look up and look at your coach, and he like tells you what to do in between serves. That just seems like it's like. I mean, obviously you could do it, but it's like
right. But the other thing is too, like I've watched professional tennis players live at the Cincinnati Open in Ohio, and they look up to what they call their camp, which is usually their coach, maybe their husband or their wife.
Posse,
their posse.
They call in Black Twitter.
Exactly. I've been liking on my Black Twitter references lately, but and so it's not uncommon to look up at your posse or your camp. In between sets or during the game, they're there to support you, right? I mean, it's like any sporting event,
It's like your corner at a boxing match.
Exactly. And they also get coaching. So why is it an issue in tennis where I don't understand it? But anyways, the other things, though, that added more insult to injury, Ramos gave Williams a point violation. She smashed her racket, which I also find a little cheap because I've also seen professionals, mostly men, smash their rackets and only get a warning. So I'm going to call BS right now and say that I don't know what the rule book says, and the rule book probably does say that there might be a point violation, but I've seen so many people smash their rackets and only get a warning. And so especially if you're playing in the final of the U.S. Open.
Right.
And I saw this one guy, this Russian guy, I don't remember his name. He smashed his racket on his head and split his forehead open.
Oh,
yeah.
Could he keep playing, or was
I mean, he wiped it off with a towel and kept playing. I think they might have had to butterfly stitch it real quick or do something so it wouldn't keep bleeding, so he wouldn't drop one.
I'm surprised that didn't disqualify him.
I don't think it disqualified him. I'll have to look that up and see because I don't want to spread false information. But I
want to look this up right now.
Go ahead, look it up. I think the guy's first name is Dmitry. I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, so I saw, that was crazy. He smashed the racket on his forehead. Maybe he did get disqualified now that I think about it. I'm not sure, but let me know if you can find it.
Oh, that's gross.
Isn't it?
All right, this is USA Today, just to be fair.
Okay, what does it say?
And they're making me turn off my ad blocker. I will not.
Of course they
Czech tennis player, no, that's not it.
That's not it, because he's Russian. Should be Dmitry something.
Yeah. Well, because I just saw
the Czech guy would be Thomas Berdych, but he was usually pretty calm and collected when he played, so that would be surprising if he was one. But yeah, so while you're looking
But
that up,
see the video. I see videos of it, but I don't
Okay.
see any Dimitris.
oh really? Okay, hold up.
Smashing a tennis racket on your head is ill-advised. Is it
Yuzhny,
Mikhail?
Dmitry, or oh, it's Mikhail Yuzhny. Sorry, it's not Dmitry.
Yeah.
Mikhail Yuzhny. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Ooh, that does look gross, though.
right? Yeah. Oh
Mikhail
wow.
Yuzhny was not too pleased with his play at the French Open on Sunday. This is 2015. So he decided that it would be better to use his racket on his head than a tennis ball. With his first round match against Damir Dzumhur tied 2-2 in the first set on a triple break point, Yuzhny hit a backhand shot into the net and punished himself with a thorough thrashing. That sounds like a
But
British-
see here, he didn't. So it says here he played out the match, and then retired after the third set. After the second set,
retired
for a
Fucking I'm out.
migraine. Well, in tennis, when you retire, it
retired.
means you quit the
I think
match.
he's like, I'm
No,
done.
he didn't quit.
What am I
no.
doing with my life?
That would be pretty crazy. But see, he didn't get disqualified. So,
Right.
and I don't know if he lost any points or anything. So it's kind of a moot point. But
But that's the best part about Serena is even though she lost, like she still gets like way more attention than Osaka, the girl that won the U.S. Open.
right. But yeah,
Which, by the way, congratulations to her. That was the first time she's ever won.
well, see, but that's the whole problem with this entire thing, Jared, is the win for Osaka was kind of snubbed from her, because like she played a good match. From the highlights I saw, she was playing really well.
I mean, you have to play well to.
Well, obviously, but
no, I know what you
obviously,
mean.
but she is always going to be known for that match where Serena got in a confrontation with Ramos, the chair umpire, and yeah. So what
Right.
she said is she said, "You owe me an apology," because he cheated her out of a point. I mean,
Right.
granted, it's only 1 point, but it's ridiculous. But
I mean,
also,
a point is a point when every point counts when it's the U.S. Open. I'll take my
Right.
point.
But it's also
Final.
I also have to really give Serena a lot of props because she spoke about sexism in tennis. And like I said, I've seen a lot of men break tennis rackets, and there have never been any negative repercussions, usually a warning, never a point. And so, yeah, and I think it's an important discussion that we need to have because I think, sadly, a lot of people assume because it's women tennis, they can't display aggression like men do, but that's just bullshit,
Yeah. I was scrolling through Twitter today, and they were already like comparing headlines from like when some dude yelled at a umpire, and it's like blah blah blah, and it's like fight for his team. Oh, it was a baseball. Someone yelling at a baseball umpire.
Oh, the strike. Yeah, argument
And then-
strike or some crap like that.
And then another one was like, and then next to it was like, Serena Williams has mother of all blow-ups at the umpire, and it was,
Yeah, that's just trash. And she didn't. I've like heard of guys who have sworn at the umpire, who have called them all sorts of names.
oh, I'm sure.
She didn't call him any names. Like if you go and watch the clip, like it's not even really that bad. She's just like, you owe me an apology. You stole a point. Are you calling me a cheater? Like, and I feel like
Yeah.
Serena has always been a very honest competitor.
Yeah.
She has a very good reputation in the sport, and I think around the world. And
Especially as
yeah.
someone that also gets, the quote unquote random drug test more than the average player, and it's
Right.
like she's already like been like proven over and over again. That's like I don't like as an honest player, and it's I get it.
Ooh,
I get it.
I like this tweet, Jared. Let me read this. This is from at Jamil Smith. Sally Jenkins gets it right in the Washington Post. Ramos took what began. This was what I was talking about earlier. Ramos took what began as a minor infraction and turned it into one of the nastiest and most emotional controversies in the history of tennis, all because he couldn't take a woman speaking sharply to him. I think that's pretty true. That hits the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, that's
And I'm really curious to
about right.
see, right? And I'm really curious to see if the chair umpire will, give an apology, if this will affect his
Yeah.
career. I
I'm
doubt
gonna
it.
say no on both.
Right. I really doubt it. But Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna say no on both.
Right.
But I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But interesting. A lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about it too, though. A lot of people
I'm sure.
A lot of people
Of course, it's the
thought
internet,
it
Chad.
was right. No no shit, right?
Of course.
Right. Yeah, but like people are calling her a sour loser or a sore loser, and people are
Sour loser. Is that an untranslatable?
No, this person literally wrote Serena Williams was a SOUR. Last time I checked, SOUR would be sour.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh
so
gosh.
I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I got to give it to her because she, I don't know, man. To me, it seems like I don't know. To me, I would have probably reacted the same way, if not worse. So good thing maybe
Yeah.
I'm not playing tennis anymore.
Yeah, Chad would have knocked that racket against his nuts and forget his head.
Oh God! Oh my God, that'd be bad. No, dude. You know what I used to do back in high school when I was playing tennis and I'd get frustrated?
No.
I would.
Pull your hair out?
No, I would usually yell stuff in German.
Verdammte Scheiß, Mann.
Exactly.
Was machst du dann?
Exactly. Thankfully, I never played any German guys. But, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
It's pretty crazy. But we're trying out something new on our Untranslatable podcast for this episode. We figure we live in a world with a lot of negativity out there, and sometimes we just need a little extra positivity in all of our lives. So we're starting with this episode a shout out of the pod, and I want to give a really special shout out to Ayanna Presley, who is the first African American woman to win a Massachusetts primary.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah. And so this is pretty right. This is pretty crazy because she beat a guy who has been a sitting House member, Michael Capuano, to secure the Democratic nomination. And I gotta say, Jared, you should definitely check out. She has a video that I saw somewhere on Facebook. I should have saved it because she is such an eloquent speaker, such an articulate woman. I think she will be a great leader. And I really think it's important we have better representation in American politics. There are too many old-ass white guys. America is not only old-ass white guys, and we need better representation for everybody.
Especially in the House and Senate, because once people get those positions, it's hard to, like, those people have those positions for like 35 years sometimes.
40 even sometimes.
And it's mostly just because young people don't vote. That's really what it is.
Right.
And it's just because it's just old people voting in the same old people. And it's like and then the young people are the ones that are complaining, and it's like I think you'd be surprised how easily you could change this, because it's hard to even, like, you look at the numbers of people that vote in, like, what do you call it? Not the primaries, but when it's like in between midterms.
Yep.
Like numbers are shockingly low of just in general. I think the number's like 40% or something
Right.
of people that vote, but that's not young people. That's just of
People in general,
population,
right.
and that's just a guess. I don't know if it's 40, but I know it's less than 50, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sure it is. I think another big problem we have in the United States is, in my opinion, voting should be a national holiday. You shouldn't have to take off work.
It is 40, by the way. I just Googled it.
It is? Okay, nice. Thank you, Google, and thank you, Jared. But yeah, I feel like
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the system that's broken. There are like steps put into place to make it harder to
Right.
vote, because this is now going to turn into the leftist Alex Jones podcast.
Oh, jeez.
Systems in place. No, but this is true.
Yeah,
there are
it's true.
systems in place in certain communities to make it harder for people to vote, and they're purposely targeting certain people to lying to them and telling them that they need things that they don't to vote in order to suppress votes. I mean, suppression
Yeah.
of votes in communities is a real thing. That's not
right, and it's not a new topic. It's been around for a long
and
time.
And you look at like gerrymandering maps, those maps don't even make sense, but it's just so you can get like every single like house that'll vote for you, and then cut out, like, it's just
Yep.
like those are all just antiquated things in order to play the system.
Exactly.
And so shout out to Ayanna Presley for somehow breaking through all that BS, and it's good to see. And there was also see, now I don't remember her name, but the woman in the Bronx that's
Cortez, right?
Yeah, I believe it was like, I feel like there's an Acacia somewhere in there as well.
1 second.
But it's just cool to keep and every now and again now on my
Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not Acacia, but I did have the word right. I just pronounced it wrong. Every now and again, though, it is like I'm seeing, people like that pop up on my Twitter feed and on Facebook and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, go like in these random. It's like I'm running for. I'm trying to finally change it up in blah 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 in Massachusetts, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool to see that stuff.
It is.
There's that one dude that I think it was a Michigan person that
Abdul
with the hair,
with
the dude that looked like he was wearing a wig all the time.
Was he? What ethnicity was he?
I can't really. I don't know if
Indian?
he was black or Indian, but
might be Sri Tanadar.
Maybe, but I don't remember his name. But I just couldn't. His hair looked so funny because he always looked like he was wearing like
okay, that's probably
a
Sri.
wig. I don't know if that's offensive. I mean, I'm sure he was a great guy. I just
yeah, I don't
live
know either.
I'm not a Michigan resident anymore, so I don't actually have to vote for this dude.
Right.
But I know Michigan people, so I'd always see him go across my. I have a question for you.
Okay.
By the way, shout out to Ayanna Presley. What are you doing October 26th to the 28th?
26th to the 28th? I have no idea why.
Because I think you should head to oh, shit.
Jubileum?
No. Not even close. Jublajna. Okay. Ljublajana.
How's it spelled?
LJUBLJANA.
Okay.
You should head to that city.
Ljubljana,
it's in Slovenia, by the way.
Okay.
You should head to that lovely city in Slovenia for PolyglotCon 2018.
Ooh. All right. You gonna fly over, Jared? That's awesome.
It's if you get your ticket before October 27th, it's only €129. So I dipped into our Untranslatable bank account. I bought your ticket. All you have to do is buy your trip there. Slovenia is surprisingly close. Can I read you a little bit about PolyglotCon?
Absolutely.
Hashtag PolyglotCon. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, I think that's what the hashtag is. I don't even know. I don't know why I said that. The Polyglot Conference 2018 in that city in Slovenia that I can't pronounce but spelled to you a second ago will bring together language enthusiasts from around the world, allowing them to meet other language enthusiasts and focus on language in a way that most of us are unable to do in our daily lives.
Oh, wow.
The main conference consists of 2 days of language talk on diverse subjects such as the latest research into polyglots and polyglottery, workplace applications of polyglot skills, language families or individual languages, linguistics, new learning resources and techniques, and language themes relating to the history and culture of the host city. Whew.
Wow, that sounds
There's
awesome.
more, but I need to take a break for at least 45 minutes before I keep reading.
That's amazing, dude. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, though, do you have to be a true polyglot to go? Because I feel like we are not yet at nearly close to true polyglot
No, of course
status.
not, Chad. There are a lot of speakers that I believe are let me check, but I did look through the speakers. Some of the speakers are in different languages, but some of them are English speakers. So you don't have to I mean, obviously they're not all going to be in Slovenian because then no one's going to show up. No offense, Slovenia. But I don't think you're on a lot of polyglots lists. Jeez, the tongue twister. Polyglot's a tough word.
It is.
All right, here's the speakers and agenda. We will open Polyglot Conference on Friday, 26th October. You know, they're European, so they say it weird. Friday, October 26th, as we would say in America, with a welcome event from around 6 p.m. Jesse and D'Angelo will be entertaining us on the opening evening. Maybe we'll get a live song of the pod, and Chad will even interview her. Great idea, Chad. I can't wait for you to go to. She is a seasoned musician, singer, and all-around entertainer.
Oh, cool.
She herself is a polyglot, speaking Spanish, German, English, French, Portuguese, Italian, Swedish, Russian, Hebrew, Catalan, Hindi, and Esperanto.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's just Friday. That's just the opening.
Man, I want to go now. I want to go really bad, but I also
Dude,
feel
find
like...
a train ticket to we'll do it. Can we do it on the road again? And you can tell us how we say that city's name first of all.
Sure.
And it's $129. If you go, I will split it with you because it's a field trip for the pod.
Oh, all right.
I don't know if I'll split it with you fully, but
all right. This would be a great conference.
But I'll chip
to
in
go to,
because
though.
it is for the pod.
Wow, this would be amazing to go to. I'm legitimately
I didn't know you'd be
thinking
this
about
into this. I thought we'd be laughing more about this.
No,
But
dude, this is
This is so
sweet.
much better that you're into it.
This is so cool. No,
And that is just once again, I only mentioned what's happening as the opening on. And dude, if you and it's I mean, they say buy before the 27th. So I mean, you can buy at any time because the 27th is when it starts. Or it starts on the 26th actually.
right.
But $129 is not bad for an all weekend pass.
No.
Do you want me
all.
to see if I can find some more highlights for you?
No, dude, I will do my own research. This is great.
So okay, I love that. All right.
feel I really want to go, but I feel like I feel kind of like a poser, only being to speak like maybe 2.5 languages.
Dude, there's nowhere in there does it say you have to be a polyglot to go to this.
That's true. That's true.
not. I mean, do you think they would ever say no? Polyglots not allowed. Only polyglots
Right.
allowed.
It'd be a little.
They're not going to
exclusive,
quiz you
yeah.
at the door.
Right. Right. Oh, you only speak 2 languages. Sorry. Here's a refund.
Hold on. I just went to the FAQs, which is English for frequently asked questions. How many languages do I have to be able to speak to attend a polyglot conference? There is no minimum requirement and certainly no entrance test. The polyglot conference
really
is not
funny.
about numbers, but about passion. It's open to
passion,
everyone
Jared.
who loves
We got the
language.
passion.
The idea behind the conference was to create a space to come together and share in that. Every year we welcome hobbyists, professionals, academics, entrepreneurs, publishers, everybody and anybody to the conference. You're not a poser. You're a hobbyist, enthusiast, academic, entrepreneur, maybe publisher at some point. That would be cool.
I mean, actually, I do have an article published. Believe it or not.
Publisher,
I would say-
podcaster.
right? Yeah.
Maybe
they need to add
at
podcaster on
PolygotCon
there.
2019, they'll say podcaster if you stop doubting yourself.
Right. All right, dude.
You'll
well,
be the first
we gotta go.
PolygotCon sponsored podcast. I guess I'm in this podcast too.
Right.
But
This is cool, man. This is really cool.
are you looking at the website or something?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is great, Jared. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I wouldn't have known.
man.
And this isn't that far from where I am either. So
No, you could probably catch a bus or a train for
Right.
€6 and get maybe a
right.
maybe they'll have like full cryo chambers on there for you to sit in for the few hours. You'll wake up refreshed.
Now I wonder how expensive the hotel will be. Because I think the 129 is only for the conference.
Yeah, of course.
Itself.
They're not booking you a hotel.
Right.
So, well, I'll talk to my sponsors, and maybe we'll be able to get you a deal.
Right. Let's see here. I'm looking right now just because I'm curious to see. Let's see here.
I'm glad that I got your.
You
got
have-
you excited about this.
What
now
does- What does
This'll be,
Leonardo? What does Leonardo DiCaprio say in
I don't know.
Django Unchained? He said,
Oh.
you piqued my curiosity, but now you have my interest," or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. First you had my interest. Now you have my curiosity, or something like that. Or not. First you had my curiosity. Now you have one of those two.
I mean, this isn't really too
And for
expensive.
dessert, we're having white cake.
Right. Wow, this is crazy, dude. There's a double castle view. I'm looking at the hotel, and it's not that bad. Like if I were to get just the one room, it's 145 euros.
Okay. That's
I don't know-
kind of pricey, but
Well, I think that's for
if you don't think it's that bad, I'm not stopping you because I want you to go to this thing. That'd be such a cool on the road again.
right. Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, see,
Polyglot Con edition.
right? Oh, dude, that'd be sick. I'm seriously going to look into some hotels and see if I can find cheaper ones. But even 145 euros for I'd get there Friday, check
Wait,
out
is that
Sunday.
for the full weekend, you mean?
I think. Let me look.
Oh, I thought you meant that was per night.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's not that bad, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, oh nope. It's 145 a night. So it's 300
that
euros.
sounds like a nice hotel.
Right. It does look like a nice hotel. I might still even just drop the 300 euros. We'll see. I'll think about it some more.
And you're looking live on the pod. Once you give it some actual research,
Right.
you might be able to find.
I might be able to find a
place.
hotel that's right by it. Where.
All right. Well, hey,
There
you
we
heard it here
go.
first, listeners. Look forward to PolyglotCon 2018. I'm holding you to it now.
All right. Sounds good. I've never been to Slovenia, so that would be really sweet.
Yeah, I don't know much about it myself. I know
right.
that they host PolyglotCon,
And
and I believe they've been doing it for a good amount of time too.
well, they host it. It looks like it's been hosted in a bunch of different countries.
Makes sense.
So
Makes
one
sense.
year it said it was in Reykjavik, Iceland. New York was 1 year. So yeah, I mean usually usually conferences like that tend to
Thessaloniki
travel.
was.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some. Novi Sad was 2014. Budapest was 2013.
Yep. See, so that's sweet though, dude. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. We're gonna have
My
to
pleasure.
definitely do that. For
My
sure.
pleasure. So, before we talk about teaching, I want to know one. I mean, you've been in the Czech Republic for what, 2-3 weeks now?
I think about 3 weeks. Yeah.
So you've met your coworkers.
Yes, sir.
Do you consider yourself on a certain acquaintance-based level with some of them?
I would actually,
All of them, some of them, none of them.
I would actually say that it's. I would say it's a little more than just acquaintance. First of all, we're
Lover?
not lovers, not that far. They're actually all married. So
Okay.
So not trying to be a homewrecker here.
And Chad's also in a relationship. Just throwing that out there.
Right. Also very true. So yeah, but no, they're really great. And the reason why I say we're a little bit more than acquaintances is we're on a first name basis, which was
But
really
they're your
nice.
colleagues. Why would you ever be calling them like Mr. or Mrs.?
Well, I mean,
Are they older than you?
they're all older than me, and they offered
Much
the
older?
first name. 2 of them are in their 60s.
Oh.
The other one I think
Are
is
you
in her
the only
40s.
one from America?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm the only native speaker. I might go out on a limb here and say I might be the only American some of these students have ever met before.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wait, so is this
Like you should have seen the reaction of the students when I introduced myself to their classes. A couple kids gave a couple like fist bumps, like yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I told
American's
them-
kind of cool, I guess, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, yeah. I think generally speaking,
So,
there's a
let me ask you
positive.
this.
Okay.
Do you get I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm going
You're
to.
good. You're good.
Do you
You're
get
good.
like placed in a school or like through like the system that gets you to these countries, they place you in schools?
Yeah. So the way it works
so you're
is
just you interact with just normal teachers.
yeah. Yep.
For some reason, I thought there would be like more of like your colleagues that are like other people from America that are teaching English.
Nope. So I'm the only
So you're
American
fully
at the
immersed.
school. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize.
I have
didn't
my
realize
own
that.
office, and the Czech word for office is cabinet. So I have my own
Cabinet. That's similar to other-
cabinet, like a cabinet.
cabinet. That's similar to other languages, I believe.
Right. Yep. So I have my own little desk with a computer, and yeah. And
Look at you.
Yeah.
Is it a public school?
Yes, it's so in the Czech Republic they have a couple different types of
right,
schools
it's-
for secondary
yeah.
school. So I'm actually teaching a technical school. So they have like computer systems, mechanical engineering, technical management, which I'm still not quite sure what that exactly means.
What would the age range be?
So also the school systems here are a little different, and they go like they call it like 1st to 4th grade, which would be like 9th to 12th grade in the States,
so,
right?
So they're like high school age.
Yeah, but they
For
can,
us
but they can,
Americans.
right? But they can also be older because I think some of the students,
Well, it's a technical school, so maybe some of them are like
right. Well, they're
farther along or
right,
doing other technical things. or
exactly, and some of them because my mentor told me a few of the students might be 20 or even 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that. That
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But it makes sense if you we should do an episode about different school systems because there's also I feel like in Europe at least from what I remember about Germany, less of a focus on going to college. That's not as stressed. Not that people don't want to go to college there, but it's not as pushed as is. Like that's kind of just an assumption. Here in America, I feel like that's becoming the assumption where it's like now I feel like on any sort of like resume for most professional jobs these days, college is now just the new high school level. Like if you don't have like it seems like there's a little less towards just college being that automatic next step.
Right. Yeah,
because you can break off into more focused paths.
Here in the Czech Republic, it's pretty much the same. And I think sadly,
you mean as like Germany,
like Germany, exactly.
Okay.
And in the Czech Republic, just like in Germany, you have to pass an exit exam in order to get into college. So in Germany, it's called your Abitur. In Austria, it's called the Matura. And actually, in the Czech Republic, it's the Maturita. So it's pretty similar to the Austrian
word.
Yeah. And so basically, if you don't have your Abitur or your Matura or Maturita, you can't go to college. You can't go to university and study. But I think they have a better distribution here in Europe of... They still do have a shortage of people in technical fields, more like the trades and like more hands-on type of jobs. But I don't think it's as bad as in the United States. And I knew a couple people in Germany who graduated and had a good job and were already, fairly well established by the time they were 19.
Right. Yeah, that can happen.
Right.
But can that wait? You mean in America? Did you say?
No, in Germany. In Germany.
Oh, right. Because I was gonna say it can happen in America too, but it seems a little tough. Like that would be a little tougher in America. But there are some times where it's like if people, like there is that like if people go straight to, yeah, I guess it can happen in America too. But I think if you graduate from college, then you can quickly overlap that. But there is a lot of time where it's like, if you have a friend that didn't go to college and you see how much money they're making while you're in college or something like that, or like right after you get out of college, they seem rich. But like then you just like I think that can happen. But then it takes time. But I guess that's what college is also, an investment in your future.
Yeah, at least that's what
longevity
they say.
For a longer career, for a longevity of career. One of the things I was going to ask you, but now I feel like this is almost a moot point, was do you struggle with achieving a balance between? Well, I can ask you this in general, but do you struggle with achieving a balance between friendship and professionalism with coworkers?
So I would say ask me that in maybe a month or two. But see, this is the weird thing for me, Jared, for my situation. I'm not that much older than a lot of the students. And so and I also introduced myself with my first name, which here in the Czech Republic generally means that you can call me by my first name. And the teachers here, they actually will usually call you Mr. or Mrs. Teacher.
Mr. or Mrs. Teacher?
Yeah, Mr. or Mrs. Teacher. And I didn't want to do that because in the States, I mean, granted, I was teaching college and university courses, and I feel like there it's also more common to, unless you have a PhD or a doctorate, to just go by your first name.
I had plenty of PhD teachers that just said, call me by my first name.
Same here.
But then I had some that were like, no, I'm a professor, blah, blah, blah.
Right, or doctor, blah, blah, blah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But so for me, I think what's going to be more difficult will be keeping a professional yet also friendship balance with the students.
See, when I first thought of that question, I was under the impression that you'd be around more coworkers that are your age. But yeah, but that's a much clearer line though with the students,
right?
Than with your coworkers, I think.
Right. It's funny because though, we get told one thing.
You can't really like hang out with your students. Like that's already a no-no, right?
Not necessarily.
Really?
So this is also what's interesting. So for the teacher training, we were told one thing, which was like you shouldn't go out and drink with your students. You shouldn't, there are certain things. Obviously, you shouldn't date your students. I'm not really worried about that because I have a girlfriend, so that's not really an issue.
But that's standard teacher stuff.
Right.
Not dating your students.
But then I talked to...
I've drank with professors, though. I have done that.
I mean, I have too. And in Germany, I've also had a couple beers with my students before. But what's funny is I talked to the teachers at the school about it, and they said, well, if you want to go to the pub with the students, like, you can go to the pub with the students, because I think here there is a level of trust already that it seems to me that they trust that I will be doing the right thing. And, it's if I go to the hospoda or the pub, free little untranslatable for you. It's not like I'm going to be having like 6 beers and get sloshed.
Right.
I'm going to have 1 or 2 beers and call it good,
Yeah, it's like, just treat everyone like adults. It's like, yeah, do we have to tell you don't get hammered? I think that's obvious.
Right. Exactly.
But if you, but yeah, I guess, I mean, that makes sense. I remember the first time I had alcohol with a teacher. I believe in 10th grade, and we had it was when I lived in Germany, obviously.
Right.
And we had like a breakfast in our French class with should I say her name?
Probably not.
Madame Therese, and that was her name. And so we had like crepes, and we had other French stuff. And she brought like this cider. It was nothing crazy. It's not like we were drinking whiskey, obviously, but like she had brought like cider that we were drinking, and this was like a morning class too. It was great. I mean, once again, we weren't getting drunk. But there was a little bit where it's like, I mean, I guess this is fine, but this is interesting. Like, I'm in a classroom in a high school right now.
Right.
And it was a delicious breakfast, though.
Oh, I'll bet.
And we felt like adults. We're like, oh, no big deal. Mm-hmm. So, okay. And I was going to say different industries have different expectations of professionals. But once again, I did not realize that these people were, like, the professors are older than you. So even though you might, say, hang out with them at some point or go get a drink with something, you're not like, really befriending them like that, just because there's the age gap in general.
Exactly.
Like you can it's like, we're not going to be hanging out at like 11 o'clock on a Friday.
Right. Not
like, hey, let's go get some beers, bro. Like, that's out of the question already, just because these are 40 and 50-year-olds with families.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so you just have to go make real friends then, don't you?
Yes, sir. And work on my Czech. Yep. It's slowly coming along. Yeah, go ahead.
So before you mentioned that people just got away with not learning English, without learning Czech. Mm-hmm. Now it seems so much harder. At first I thought there were more English-speaking people around.
I mean, there are a lot, and I have to say a lot of the younger people. I would say most people 20 and under speak fairly good English, or they understand a lot. I think the problem is with a lot of the Czech people I've met, I think they're just very intimidated to be put on the spot and speak to a native speaker. And I'm also curious, too, how many times these people have interacted with native speakers. If you haven't really left Chomutov.
Yeah, that's not a giant tourist destination.
Right, exactly. So a lot of times I'll ask, in Czech, do you speak English? And a lot of people honestly look a little scared. Like they're like, no, and they look a little scared.
You've mentioned a couple stories where people said no, and then you've later realized that they do.
And it's usually good English, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. they just didn't want to, it seems like, embarrass themselves or something.
Right.
But it's like, it's so funny how you're trying not to embarrass yourself while I'm sitting here struggling. Mm-hmm. Like, I know nothing.
I gotta say though, man, and I may have told this story on the pod, so if I have, I apologize. But I went into the bank by myself to get my bank card, just to see. I don't
know if you did. I don't know if you did tell that.
Okay, so I'll tell it. So in the Czech Republic, the way it works is you go into the bank, you sign all your paperwork, and you get a text message from the bank, an SMS for all of our European listeners out there, with basically a notification saying your bank card is ready. So I got the text on a Monday. I had a lot of stuff going on Monday and Tuesday, so I went on Wednesday. I had a little bit more free time. So I went on Wednesday after I got done working on some lesson planning, and I went in there and I just showed the text message to one of the bank tellers and said the Czech word for card, which is kartu. And she understood and said a bunch of stuff to me in Czech, which I didn't really understand, just kind of nodded and smiled. And then she motioned to the chair to take a seat, so I took a seat. And then she came back and she couldn't find my card, my kartu. Yep.
I can't do that roll.
Right. And so she couldn't find it. And then she asked me if I had a picture of my passport, and I didn't have it on me. But thankfully, for all your travelers out there, keep a picture on your phone or on your email. So I pulled one up on my phone and showed it to her, and then she found it. Then I had to go to this other bank teller.
That is a good tip.
It is, yeah.
I think I have a picture of my email somewhere, maybe. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
I would keep one on your phone or in your email somewhere, just because, yeah, you never know when you're going to need it. But
that'll
yeah,
probably come in huge handy if you ever lose your passport too, to have your passport
exactly.
number handy like that.
Yep, and I've made a couple copies as well, just in case anything were to happen.
Of course you have.
Right.
You probably have them like scattered, or you probably have them scattered around like you're Jason Bourne or something.
Right, for sure. You know it. You know it. Got
Chad's
one hidden in the ceiling
Jason
tile.
Chad's the Jason Bourne of worrying.
That's true. That is true.
That airport that I might never go to might need a backup passport.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Exactly. So then I had to go to a different bank teller to sign the documents saying I had the card. And I go up there and she says all these things to me in Czech, and then I ask her "Mluvite anglicky," which is Czech for "Do you speak English?" Also, it's the formal.
I should just make that a drop.
Right. "Mluvite anglicky." And
okay, I need to write that down.
56th minute, Jared.
Say it one more time. Clean.
"Mluvite anglicky."
There we go. All right.
And of course she says "ne," which is Czech for no. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I go, "Deutsch?" And she's like, "Ne." And I'm like,
Deutsch?
And I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to be interesting. And then thankfully this other younger bank teller kind of heard me, and she walked over and sat down next to her, and she said, "Don't worry, I'll translate for you." So she was a lifesaver. I wish I would have got her name, because I would have given her a
that could have
shout
been
out.
that would have been the shout out of the pod.
Right, exactly. But yeah, all I had to do was sign the sheet saying that I was, taking my bank card and everything else. And then I also deposited some Czech crowns into my bank account so it wouldn't be completely empty. But I still, even though the girl was there helping me translate, there were a couple moments before she got there where they were speaking a lot of Czech, and I did pick up bits and pieces of it and kind of knew what they meant. A lot of times what I've noticed is based on the context, I can kind of guess and extrapolate what they kind of mean usually, and then it's all right, but it's going to take me another month or two until my Czech gets decent enough where I can really understand stuff.
Right. Yeah, man. But do you is there, if there's not a level of comfort that's come with the language quite yet, are you at least gaining a level of comfort with knowing that you're constantly going into situations where you're not sure how even the simplest interaction might go?
It's and now it's funny.
You're just like, well, fuck it, let's see what happens.
Dude, that is my mindset right there, because I can't.
I mean,
many fregista.
We've been saying it for weeks now at this point. Months, I would say.
Right? Like, I just don't get stressed about it. It's weird. The first week and a half, I noticed I was really stressed about it. Like,
of course, yeah. You're like, oh God, I hope they understand me. I don't sound like an idiot or like.
And now, now I'm just kind of like, well, let's just see what happens.
I think that's the first step to learning the language too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, without a doubt.
I think not only is that the first step to just the comfort level. Like, you know what, it's either go into situations where I'm uncomfortable or just never leave the house. So
exactly.
Those are the two options.
But see, it's also bad because like my apartment's pretty nice, so I could just post up and just chill in my apartment.
It's way too big. Like, it is way too big for someone that is just like in a situation like you where you're living abroad for 10 months.
Yeah.
You should be living in like a studio with like a.
Right. Well, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of my colleagues at the school, and they said.
Although, yeah, by the way, your refrigerator is you have that gigantic apartment, and then you have essentially a college fridge for your refrigerator.
Yeah, but that's all right. I mean, I think it's actually good. I'm not overeating here, so I can't complain.
Yeah. Let's try that diet out.
Right.
The college fridge diet. Anyway, sorry, you were talking to someone.
And she said, she was like, one of my colleagues said, yeah, you're actually really lucky you're not living in the student boarding school housing, because I would be in a small room. I don't even know if I would have a hot plate.
Like a dorm?
Yeah, basically like a dorm. And I'm not going to lie, Jared, I am not trying to go back to that dorm life anytime soon.
No, you're an adult. We were just talking about how We're no longer in our early or mid-20s.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
We are adults, and we can no longer. I'm done sleeping on an extended twin bed.
Right, exactly.
No more extended twins.
Exactly. Well, Jared, should we get to
Full or
our
get
topic?
out of here? Oh, yeah. That's our new shirt. Full beds or get out of here. At least full beds. I have a queen bed, by the way, ladies.
There you go. I have a twin right now, though. So.
Oh,
Here's
do you?
what it is. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Well, it's all right. Actually, it's not. I thought it wasn't going to be super comfortable because a lot of these European beds have like wood underneath them. I've gotten
Right.
pretty used to it now. I've been sleeping
Yeah.
like a rock the last couple days.
Well, there you go. Yeah, let's talk about let's. I'm glad you're comfortable. Let's talk about why you're so comfortable as a teacher.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, see what
Well,
I just did there?
I did. That was a good transition. First, before we get into that, I do want to give our listeners a little perspective. One about, I guess, myself, and two,
Please, yes.
and two, also the difference between ESL and EFL, and also just an English teacher in general. So first of all, my background, I studied at Michigan State University in East Lansing, Michigan. Finished in May, I guess technically with my thesis in August of 2018, and studied TESL, which stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. You'll also hear sometimes TESL, which I think that's also just teaching English. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like that
TESL,
seems like
there's
that could be
TESL
the
and
exact
TESL.
same.
TESL is, I think TESL is
Tesla.
teaching
TESL
English
is Tesla's
to speakers. But see, yeah, it's that other languages right here. So there's a couple different like terms they throw around. So you have TEFL, TEFL, which is teaching English as a foreign language. Okay. And then TESL is like ESL, which is TESL, teaching English as a second language.
Are those two different things?
Yes, and I will get into those in just a second. And then TESL is teaching English to speakers of other languages. So really, TEFL basically, or EFL, if you take off the T and you have EFL, that's English as a foreign language. So that means you teach English in a country where English is not the official language or the native language of people, right? So if I move to China or Japan and teach English, I'm a TEFL teacher. If I move to Germany, I'm a TEFL teacher. And then TESL and TESL are used more so like in the United States and the UK and countries where it is the native language, teaching English as a second
That's more
language.
teaching foreigners how to speak English in the country, in an English-speaking country.
Right. And I do have
And
to
the other
say,
one is more like teaching in like high school to kids how to speak.
well, I
English.
wouldn't necessarily differentiate the schools per se.
Right. Okay. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say, to me, it seems the difference of TESL and TESL is
Where you're located?
not. I think TESL is just more broad, teaching English to speakers of other languages, whereas TESL is teaching English as a second language. So the only really big difference here is with TESL, we're assuming that they maybe only speak one language, right? But if you just say speakers
okay.
of other languages versus second language, it's just slightly different. You know, it's different wording.
So,
Go ahead.
sorry, all this TESL and TEFL talk is making me about almost pass out. You've also taught German as well, right?
Yes. And that would be German as a foreign language.
Okay.
Just
and that's
like
because
TEFL.
you're teaching to that's because you're teaching to Americans, because you're teaching German to people in a different country, not in Germany.
Exactly. Yes.
Do you have a preference between teaching English to teaching English as a foreign language, or teaching German as a second or as a foreign language, or teaching English as a second language? TEFL, German.
Okay. Well, I would actually put, believe it or not, I would actually put English and German right about on the same level. I really
Okay.
enjoy teaching both of them, to be honest, at pretty much the same level. It's just a little different teaching your native language versus teaching a language you learned, because I feel like I can explain German grammar much better than I can English grammar, for example.
Because it was explained to you.
Exactly.
Right. But English you just learned.
Right. And I've taken courses about teaching grammar, and so I feel much more confident now, but But before I took all these courses in how to teach grammar for English, I'm not so sure I would have been successful at trying to explain grammar concepts to students. But I also am a firm believer as well that you don't need a ton of grammar knowledge to become proficient in a language. I think for reading and writing, it helps, especially writing. But I think over time, if you get enough input in the target language,
What do you mean input?
We discussed this way earlier on when we started the pod, Jared. I'm a little surprised you don't remember.
I don't listen to anything you say.
That's true.
As soon as the episode's over, I forget everything you just said to me.
That's how you keep your brain fresh for our next episodes. It'd be too much info otherwise. But no, so what input is basically like exposure to the target language, whether it's through listening, reading, television, whatever. Your teacher talking to you.
So you don't think you need to be fluent to be able to teach German? Like you could have started teaching before you were
No. What
German.
I'm saying is the students don't need to know a bunch of grammar in order to become proficient. I think it helps, but I think some people put too much emphasis on grammar teaching is basically what I'm trying to say.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially when it's taught, like, for example, learning a foreign language in America. I feel like it's more grammar than it is speaking.
Right. And actually, one distinction I also want to make with English as a foreign language, EFL versus ESL. I think EFL, you can maybe focus a little bit more on the grammar because you don't need it to survive in the country. But with ESL, if you're living in the United States or Canada or the UK,
you don't have time to waste teaching all the grammar. People need to figure out how to go get groceries and stuff and live a life.
Exactly. So there's exactly. So the content I think is a little different. The objectives, the aim of
that's how I picked up German so fast. As I said before, it's because I was taking French for years, but in Germany it was either like it was like this is learn how to order food because you're going to be living here for the next
Exactly.
It's like learn how to do like very basic things, and then the grammar kind of came simultaneously, I guess, but definitely speaking it was just the focus because like I'm just trying to get around.
Exactly. So you had asked me about German EFL or ESL. I also have to throw a disclaimer out there that I have more experience teaching ESL because I taught while I was doing
than German.
ESL, my man. English is a second language.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you said you have more experience teaching that than German.
No, than EFL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I have probably the most experience teaching German. I have about, I guess, 4.5 years of teaching German under my belt. And then I have about 2.5 years of ESL, English as a second language, under my belt. I volunteered at the refugee center in Lansing. That was a great experience. Cool. And then I was also a speaking and listening teacher for one semester for the English Language Center at Michigan State University. I also worked for graduate school at Michigan State. We also had to do a teaching practicum where we taught this really fun, basically English conversation class. So I taught advanced students.
Practicum is German for internship.
Right. But I think we also use it in the States now because, I mean, that's the word they used. It was the TESL practicum is what it was called.
The first time I heard practicum was in Germany.
Right. And
also, I was
that there.
I guess 11 when I moved to Germany. So.
Right. But yeah, so really this is my first experience teaching EFL. So English is a foreign language. So I'll let you know after the 10 months. I think it will be a lot different. Just because,
and these people aren't starting from zero.
No, they seem so far. The students I've already spoken with have been very proficient. Good English. Also, like accent wise, very comprehensible. It'll be an interesting year.
Do you think that makes it easier or harder than if they were more at a bit lower stage rather than already being conversational?
I think it just depends on what you're trying to teach them. So
what are you trying to teach them?
I'm trying to teach them, well, basically what my goal is here is to teach them basically what the other English teachers here can't, which is more American English.
Sup, homie?
Right, exactly. Good old American English. I also just want them to build their confidence with speaking English in a conversational manner.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's more fun
Exactly.
than that's
exactly. So I'm looking forward to my 10 months.
So it'll be
here.
more of a conversational class than like
Yes.
the past participle.
Which is nice because
they,
I've also done a lot more with speaking and listening. And I think that also brings my music background into it a little bit too, which is really nice.
What oh yeah, because I guess part of making them giving them that conversational is giving them different medias to listen to, different inputs, as they say in the teacher game.
Right.
So when did you know you wanted to be a teacher? Like, when did you decide teacher was the lifestyle for you?
Well, do you want the cliche answer or do you want the...
I want the real answer, whatever that is.
Well, I would say, well, let me put it this way. I think my interest really started when I was about 14 and I was giving a lot of kids guitar lessons. I really enjoyed teaching guitar. And what really is one of the coolest moments as a teacher is when your student has that aha moment where they either understand something they couldn't understand, or also just when you see your students progress and learn. It's just an amazing
I've seen my
feeling.
piano teacher get excited when I have those aha
See,
moments.
exactly. That to me is what really makes teaching worth it. If you can make a positive impact on a few students, I think it's truly worth it. Obviously, I would love to make an impact on all of my students, but some of them might not care. Some of them might not find it useful. Some of them might not find it interesting. You can't please everybody.
Do you ever find yourself struggling to get a student on your side because there's some goodness behind that rough exterior?
Not.
I make it sound like it's a movie from the 80s.
knock on wood. I've had mostly all of my students so far have been very, very good at participating. They've been engaged in the lessons. I think
Chad Wonder teacher.
Well, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I have to say I think some of it though too is I really try to not necessarily do a very strong teacher-centered approach, which basically means you have, there are many different theories of teaching. And actually my quote of the pod is taken from a guy who's very important to the reform of teaching. But anyways,
who dat?
Exactly. And we'll get there. But I love those drops, by the way. But the thing is with teaching, it's, if you do it teacher-centered, which is more the old school, I lecture you the whole time, you take notes, to me that just is too boring. I would rather have a student-centered approach where I facilitate, especially in a conversation class, I want to facilitate the conversations. If I have, usually in the Czech Republic, the average class size for conversation classes is about 15. So, you can do, some groups of 3, some groups of 5, pretty easy. And if I had a teacher-centered classroom, I would be the only one talking the whole time. They'd just be sitting and listening. That's not how you learn how to, become a good conversationalist. You have to have a lot of conversations. So I tried to really take a very student-centered approach with my teaching and give the students the freedom and the opportunity to use the language. Also, if they don't know words, to ask their peers for help before asking me. Because I think there's a misconception a lot of times with teachers where people think we're just a walking dictionary, especially language teachers. And we are not walking dictionaries.
I think you're a walking dictionary. I always ask you obscure words. It's like, you're the German teacher. You should know this word. It's like, yeah, no, I don't know how to say support beam. Sorry.
Right. But yeah.
So, jeez. Before I went on that tangent, I had a question. I remember what it was now. So this is your first time teaching TEFL.
EFL. TEFL would be the teaching part of it, but yeah, EFL.
Right. That's like saying ATM machine.
Right. Exactly.
So, do your inputs? I could totally fit in at a teacher party.
Well, before you go too far, it's just input. You use it as a singular. Now,
even if I'm talking about different, like varying inputs, like TV or music,
I would say, varying
input.
Mm-hmm. That's how I would say that. But yeah,
does your would I say so? I don't say do your input.
Does, yeah. We just use it usually in singular. Mm-hmm.
Does your thanks.
Now you'll really fit in the teacher parties, right? I'm just trying to help a brother out.
Does your input vary between like the the ESL and the EFL?
I would say, well, I would say yes.
I would say input recommendations.
I would say yes and no, because in an EFL context, you don't have as many opportunities to just pull things from wherever, right? Like if I'm walking down the street in the United States, I see a funny poster, I can take a picture of it and show it to my class, right? That's input.
Right. Do you want me to do that?
Yes,
for you?
sir. Yes, I do.
I can send you
All
pictures of.
Perfect. But whereas EFL, because I'm in the Czech Republic and the main language here is Czech, there's not a lot of English around me. So what I have to do is just, scour the internet and find, different types of input that I can give to the students, whether it's me speaking, news broadcasts or YouTube videos
Would you show them things like I don't know, like a clip from Rush Hour 2 or something like that?
If it has something to do with
because you're
the
trying
lesson.
to like normalize them to like American English. I'm just thinking of like
Right.
typical like popular culture things that everyone would be like, this is how not black people talk, but like this is popular American slang or whatever.
Well, I have used
It's not how black people talk, by the way. Don't ever.
right. I have used Trevor Noah clips in my ESL classes in the States.
Okay.
So
Why him? What about his clips?
well, one, they're funny. Two, I
Right.
just love Trevor Noah. And
Okay.
three, he talks about a lot of interesting things about culture that can
Pushing your liberal propaganda on the students. I see how it is.
exactly. That's right. That's right. But yeah. So for me, it's important to find materials and use different media that will get the students excited, get the students laughing.
Right.
I think it's very important to have language. The whole language learning process should be a fun and kind of creative thing, right? I think people sometimes say, "Oh, well, you can't say it this way, you can't say it that way."
But I think that in general, that what you said, those are like two. As I think you mentioned this a second ago, like two different mindsets to teaching. Because I think that what you're saying also is the antithesis to like that lecture style.
Right.
So there are definitely two. Even though there are many different styles of teachers, I feel like once you're walking into that door, there's a fork where you're either going to be like lecturing or more conversational. Like that's at least the first step you have to figure out.
Without a doubt.
But I guess it also depends on what you're teaching. It's hard to be conversation. I mean, are there lecturer German like teachers? I mean, I'm sure there are, but I feel like that's a hard thing. Or language teaching in general, it's hard to be a lecture style because the whole point of learning a language is by having people speak it. So you need other people to at least reply to you somehow.
Well, I would say it depends on the level of the language class and also the content, right? So if you're taking a German literature course, they're
Right.
going to lecture you probably, and then there might be a discussion, but a lot of it will be lecture.
But the lecture should be in German. It's
Right.
assumed that you know the language well enough to at least.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Exactly.
That's fair.
And so it just depends. If you're taking, I'll be teaching some technical topics in English, and some of that I might have to lecture a little bit. But the ideal, well, here, let me ask you, Jared, so you can fit in even more in some cool teacher parties, because we throw the best parties, by the way, if you didn't know.
I've actually been to a good amount of teacher parties. Well, high school.
Okay.
Though. Like they're high school teachers. I haven't been to high
What
school
do you
parties.
think? What do you think is the ratio of the teacher speaking to the student speaking in an ideal classroom? What would you say is the percentage?
Ooh,
It's a good
50-50?
No, not at all.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, 60-40? Teacher, student?
So the teacher speaks 60% of the time. The students speak 40.
Yeah.
Okay, not quite.
Am I going in the right direction
Nope,
or is it the
other
other
way.
way? Really?
I would say
30 teachers, 70 students?
I would say that's your ideal, but
Dang.
I'll also toss another.
That seems tough to do.
It is, and as you know, I really like to talk, so it's not always easy sometimes.
Right.
But
Right.
I would say, yeah, in an ideal classroom, it would be 30% teacher, 70% student. But it also depends on the level, and it depends on the classes you're taking, right? Because if you're doing like a grammar class, that's going to be different. If you're doing a reading or writing class, that's going to be different. If you're also teaching beginners who haven't had a lot of input in the past and who don't have enough just language knowledge yet, you can't expect them to speak 70% of the time. It's just not realistic.
Right. Another question. What do you wear?
When I teach,
Also, what are you wearing right now? I can see, but no,
I
I'm
wear a
just kidding.
tank top.
Yeah, what do you
and gym
wear?
shorts when I teach. No.
Well, I mean, you are trying to come off as the cool conversational teacher. Hey, I'm Chad. Hey, Chad.
Is
Walk
that, is
in
that
and,
how I
like, give everyone
sound?
high
Is that how I
fives.
sound? I really hope I.
Sup, kids?
I hope I don't sound like that.
Pop, kick flip in with your
Ooh,
skateboard.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Bring my guitar.
I'm just one of the kids.
Bring my electric guitar and some
Yes.
sunglasses
I'm
on.
one of the School of Rock
Oh,
now.
yes, that'd be great. That's also a great movie.
You could totally teach them though with like impromptu songs. That is a method. It worked at School of Rock. I saw the movie a lot of
Me
times,
too.
and those kids loved it, and they learned something.
I'm here to tell you, Jared, I've used music in a lot of German and English classes, and the students do love it.
You've brought your guitar into class?
I have for English classes, yeah. I taught my students how to
Okay.
write a 12-bar...
ESL?
ESL, yeah. I taught my students how to write a 12-bar blues.
Yeah, the chord progression.
No, the lyrics. They had to write the 12-bar blues, and I just played the dun, 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 dun,
Right,
you know,
right,
the blues,
right.
typical blues kind of...
Jing, jing. Sometimes when I'm practicing and I'm sick of playing the same thing over and over again, it's nice to break it up and like improvise for a
Right.
bit. That's a nice activity to do in general every time from time to time.
And
again.
who knows?
But it's also great to get your mind off of like
Right.
lists.
Exactly.
That I'm trying to learn.
Who knows though, man? I mean, I might. Yeah, I'm actually planning on buying an acoustic guitar in Prague. I'm going there in a week.
The carbon fiber one.
No,
not the
that's
carbon
too
fiber one.
expensive. Although that'd be a
right.
great
We
guitar,
talked about
but
this.
yeah. But anyways, yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. But no, your original question before we got on this crazy tangent.
I was about to ask you another question. I thought I hadn't asked you anything yet.
Was what do I wear? My rule of thumb.
Oh, right.
My rule of thumb when I teach is a collar. So collar.
Okay.
And then either slacks, khakis.
A priest collar.
Yes, a priest collar. Yes, exactly.
Call me father.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have a couple button downs here, a couple polos. But it seems like when I went and met a lot of the teachers here, it doesn't seem like there's a super standard dress code. I saw some teachers who were dressed very nicely, and other teachers who, I kid you not, were wearing just like a regular t-shirt and jeans.
I feel like that's part of the secular lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Is they're less connected to this fake formality that I think is strong, and not just America, but definitely in America. Like this, I'd say almost quote unquote fake formality is what I call it, where it's like you have these set guidelines at jobs and stuff and dress codes. Where it's like, well, what's this? Who's this button down for, really? Mm-hmm. It's like who are these black leather shoes for, and why do you?
But I will tell you,
why?
I will tell you that I prefer wearing something with a collar when I teach, because it kind of puts me in the right mindset. If I walked in a t-shirt or a tank top, I would not feel ready to teach.
That's fair. And that being said, I'm also someone that tends to slightly dress over in any job I'm at anyway.
Right.
So I'm also speaking as someone that is not like. But but I do think that a lot of it is I was like, we can drop some of these formality rules that we've had for so long.
I
think we're
think
getting
it'll
there.
change in our lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I think it's happening.
But I
It's just
still think even if it was acceptable to wear a t-shirt and like shorts, I would still probably be wearing a
wouldn't
button
either.
down and slacks or something. Yeah.
No, I actually would feel kind of uncomfortable wearing a t-shirt to work for sure.
Right.
But I also work.
I will be wearing my dark jeans though on Fridays,
Okay.
but still a collar. Gotta have that collar.
So, who are some of your go-to English input?
What do you mean?
Who is some of your go-to American input? Oh, you said Trevor. No, we already talked about
Right.
this. I already asked. Level preference in English? Do you have a level preference? Like, where do you want the students to be at as far as their proficiency?
I mean, I would say I have more experience teaching advanced learners, and with it,
so people that already have a base of
not
English.
only a base, but I mean they're proficient.
Conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's just nice because to be honest with you, it's less work. It's less scaffolding.
That makes sense.
And scaffolding is a term we use in teaching that basically just means
Grasping for straws.
well, no. So scaffolding is basically when you have to basically give the students extra support. And, if you think of a painter and a scaffold, it's there to support the students. Whereas
I'm going to be so cool at the next teacher
Right.
party I go to.
Right. But yeah, so that's just what I prefer, I guess, is more advanced learners. But I have also taught beginners, and beginners are a lot of fun, but you have to really adjust the way you talk, right? So when I teach beginners, I have to talk very slowly, very clearly. I try to enunciate everything, even though that's not really how we talk normally.
Right.
But I would rather give them a good base than go in and try to teach them things that is above their level,
Right. But then in the class that you're in right now, you're not going to spoon feed the language to them. You're not going to talk like, hello, welcome.
No. Mm-mm.
Because
their English is good enough.
Then they're going to understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like teaching someone Guten Tag when they've been learning German for like 6 years.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Have you heard of the term modeling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I try to do a lot of modeling in my teaching because I think it makes a lot of activities move a lot more smoothly.
Chad's a professional.
I would hope so. After 2 master's degrees, man. If I'm not, I've been doing some things seriously wrong.
Well, explain modeling.
So modeling,
because that is also teacher lingo, I assume.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to bring you to all my teacher parties now. But so modeling is basically.
Chad doesn't like to bring me to parties for a host of reasons.
Exactly.
So maybe now I can finally get
it's
in.
It's that Nike hoodie, man. It's that Nike hoodie.
Your friends wouldn't allow it.
Exactly.
Hey, let's burn that. No, please.
Oh man. Sadly, I have a couple of friends from my hometown that might actually have that reaction, unfortunately. But anyways, so
I did have some friends like that. Let's put it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
You know who you are. They're never really going to listen to this. But
oh well. But yeah, so modeling is when you show or tell the students basically how to do something, right? So if I was giving you an activity in class, I would maybe call on you, and you would be student A, and I would be student B, and I would show them how to, maybe you have to fill out a chart, or maybe you have to, whatever the activity or the task is, right? Maybe I give you a list of apartments and their price and the amenities and things, and you have to have a discussion with your partner and come to an agreement on which apartment you want to rent, right? So I would model the conversation a little bit, try to use language that, the students should be trying to use, things like that. So that's basically modeling, and I think...
How much must I pay monthly?
Exactly.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. Does that sound like a good foreign language
Great student, Jared. You'd be getting a 4-point in my class.
Check for understanding, of course. Mm-hmm. Is there sort of like a constant reinforcing you have to do? I'm sure, especially now that I'm starting to understand the Czech culture a little bit, I feel like you're going to have to constantly be like, are you with me? Are you with me? Because it seems like they're ones, at least, I mean, it's a classroom, so they should know that this is the place to ask questions. Right. But at least from what I've heard in your daily interactions, where it's a lot of it's just, let's just go with it. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that can be a double-edged sword, because you can ask your students, do you understand me? Are you with me? And they might say yes, even though they're not. So the way that I have tried to figure this out.
But you also have to believe them, I guess, if they're actually saying
yes.
Right, and mean it.
Exactly, but I usually try, I feel like after these, 4 years of teaching, I become a pretty good face reader and body language reader. So I can usually tell if a student might be a little lost or a little confused, and they may not say it, but I, can tell. And then I might either, after the class is over...
Single them out.
Right. Single them out. You over there, tell me what the definition of this is. Exactly. No, I try to either, have a classmate explain it to them when they're doing group work, or talk to them after class, things like that. And so it's really, I think, as a teacher, I think a lot of people ask, and I even ask too, do you guys understand? Is everything clear? But I've had students in the past where I've asked, is everything clear? And then I could tell when they started to work on the activity, everything was not clear. So That's
Right.
not always really a good rule of thumb. I would rather just have the students try to do the activity or the task. And then if I notice they're struggling, that's when I either go and help them. Or a lot of times, I think it's sometimes even better to have their peers ask them, or to ask a peer and have
Right.
the peers help them.
That's what, and that's what, we've said this before, but that's what I liked once we studied abroad in Austria, then after, and we would talk German together, is that we would talk, but you obviously were a little more advanced than I would, so you would like correct me in conversation sometimes.
I felt like
And
a
they would
dick doing it, but I still did it.
I loved it though. I mean, that was I think that was a perk of us being able to, because then we would still talk normally, but you just slightly correct a thing or two. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate
But see,
it.
that's the other.
And I think that it helps when it's coming in conversation and from your peer rather than
Exactly.
your teacher.
And that's the other thing that I still need to really hash out with my students is, how do you want to be corrected? Because there are a lot of different ways you can correct students. I mean, I would say the worst way to do it is to obviously put them on the spot and just be like, that's wrong. That is, in my book, one of the worst ways to correct your students, because it's not helpful. It kills their confidence.
And making mistakes is part of the process.
Exactly. And so
it's like you're going to have to make mistakes.
So one thing that I try to do with my teaching is what they call recasting. Here's another fancy term you can use. So recasting is basically when, so if you were one of my students and I said, "Oh, Jared, what did you do this weekend?" and you said, "I goed to the movie theaters." I would go, "Oh, okay. So you went to the movie theater. What movie did you see?"
Yeah, you did that in German too. You did that same thing in German.
Exactly. Because that's better than me being like, "No, it's not goed. That's wrong. It's went." Because
right. Just repeat the sentence to them.
Yeah, and I think,
which is also a classic interview technique when someone's interviewing
That's true.
you, and you need some time.
very true.
Just repeat the question.
And I also think too, it's some students don't even realize that they're being corrected, but they hear it in the correct way, so they're getting that input. So it's still very useful.
Yes. It doesn't feel like a correction.
Right.
It's just
Right. And
this is because that could be a normal conversational way to talk,
Exactly.
even if you weren't correcting
exactly,
someone.
that's a good point. And the other thing I also try to do too sometimes is, if I notice something that many students are doing wrong, right? Like an issue for a lot of language learners in the beginning when they learn English is the third person S on verbs, right? So he runs, he has.
That's a
It
tough
is.
one. I mean, because there's so many random words that don't follow that.
Right, exactly. And so when I would notice that a lot of students were making this error, instead of just correcting them 100 times at the end of class, I would say, okay, so I noticed that, some of you are having trouble with this. Just try to remember, and then I would try to give them lots of examples. So once again, give them lots of input, give them examples. Yeah, because to me, it's not worth my time to single out students. It makes them feel bad. It doesn't make me feel good as a teacher. So I think recasting is important.
Especially when they already have a base.
Right. And another thing a teacher told me that I really liked. This sounds like a lot of work, but I'm going to try it and see. This was at a workshop I was at, and one of the
Use Instagram.
right, use Instagram, exactly. No,
I thought I told myself I wasn't going to bring that up this episode. Although, to be fair, now that I think about it, timing wise, people have. I hope you enjoyed those pictures from Kumatov. Because we had Jeff on and we talked about his time at Kumatov in Prague. Sorry. So I take that back. I didn't mean to. Pictures have been put up
under the bus. Anyways,
Yeah.
So another thing though that a teacher told me at a workshop, which I thought was a great idea, or as the Brits would say, brilliant, was you just have a notepad and you keep a note of the students' errors throughout the class. When I say throughout the class, I don't mean throughout the semester. I mean throughout that hour. Right.
Right.
And so then afterwards, you just at the end of class, you put your Post-it note on their table, and they just read it and take it home with them.
Oh.
So I might
Interesting.
try that and see how it works.
That does seem like a lot of work,
Yeah.
though, because... Wait, so you have a Post-it note for each student?
Yeah, and you just kind of do it on
because
the
you're
fly.
not taking notes in a notebook.
Right.
You have... Because then you'd have to
Right.
write a Post-it note for every student. Or not every student, but for a certain amount of students.
Right.
That does seem like a lot of work, but that does seem... and that'll be like a little tips for you, a little personalized tips. It seems like a lot of work, but it seems like...
it could be worth
in the sense
work.
of And it definitely seems like in the sense of showing that you're involved with the students.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to show that you're involved. I mean, it's like, wow,
absolutely.
this teacher actually paid attention to like those little things that I didn't even notice. And
Right.
then, yeah,
Exactly.
that's nice of you. So you mentioned, well, I mentioned oh no, you did the apartment thing. And so you're doing, so because these are people that are more advanced, you're giving them more realistic topics than if you were like a beginner, right?
Uh-huh.
So what are some other topics, like some other role play ideas that you'd have? Let's role play a little bit. How about you and I do an example of one that's not apartment?
Oh man,
related?
you're putting me on the spot here. Well, I mean, one of the activities I want to do with the students is this isn't really a role play, but I bring in or I display pictures on a PowerPoint about myself. And then I have the students try to discuss with each other and figure out what the pictures mean. Why did I pick them? Or, you can also do this.
So there's going to be a picture of me, I
Oh,
assume.
for sure. Picture of you. There's probably going to be a guitar on there. There's going to be a picture of Michigan.
Well, that's probably his lover of some
Right,
sort.
right, exactly.
Correct.
So yeah. So that's one activity I have in mind. Another one that I want to try, which I think could either be great or just be an epic fail, would be having the students ask me anything. Kind of like a in-person Reddit ask me anything.
Oh, that could only go great. If you do that, I want a recap of that.
I'll let you know without a doubt, for sure.
I mean, do you have to have faith in your students that they're not going to like ask you some degenerate questions? And are you going to stick to the AMA rules? If they ask you, you're going to answer the question.
I'm going to answer them. If they ask me, I'm going to answer them.
I need to hear about
All right,
this.
I'll let you know. To all our listeners out there, stay tuned.
Polyglot Con AMA.
Yep.
Untranslatable AMA. No, that's not going to be a thing. Don't ask me anything.
But yeah. So that's pretty much what's been going on, and I have to say though, man, I am so fortunate to work as an ESL and an EFL teacher because yes, sometimes it's a lot of work, but it is such a great job. I mean, really, I cannot complain.
Right. I mean, and it's something you've wanted to do for a while. You've always been. I remember even when we were studying abroad, you always talked about the main goal is to get back to either Germany or Europe in general to teach over there.
And here I am. So it worked out.
Yeah. This is life, baby. Let's see. This has all been very useful. I feel like I've had I might name this episode TSL/TFL 101 or something.
Oh,
like
that would have been a way better title.
I mean, I can still do it. The episode hasn't been put out yet.
The intro will be a little different, but that's okay.
Is it? Do you want it to be ESL or TESL? I still haven't fully.
Do TESOL 101. How about that?
TESOL
Actually,
101.
you know what? No, dude.
That's
No.
the worst.
Do TEFL/TESL 101.
Okay. I've never heard TEFL or TESL. I've only
TEFL is teaching
ESL.
English as a foreign language.
No, I know that now.
Right. Well, see, you learned something new.
Okay, sorry about
You're
that.
good.
That was some behind the scenes for the people right there.
Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to think if I have any more questions because I feel like I over prepared for this episode now because I didn't think you'd yammer on for so long.
Well, I love teaching, so I'm good at yammer.
So, homework assignments. What kind of homework assignments do you give in this kind of situation? What do they bring to you back as do they write papers?
No. What? So, and this is also why it's going to be a bit of adjustment going from an ESL context, English as a second language in the States, to an EFL context, English as a foreign language in the Czech Republic, because
English is homework's probably easier in the first.
Exactly. So when I was teaching ESL classes at Michigan State and also at Jackson College, what I would do is I would give the students, a lot of times I would try to give them real world tasks. So I would say, okay, like for example, when I was at MSU, we had a little unit on small talk. So too bad our podcast
And conversational taboos.
Too bad our podcast wasn't out then. I would have assigned that to him for homework, for listening homework. But what I had them do was go out and just try to make small talk with people. And then what I did have them do is they wrote a short reflection, and then they presented their reflections to the class, but had to obviously speak. So the difficulty with speaking in listening classes and conversation classes is giving them homework, because how do you make them speak and can prove they were actually speaking for their homework and things like that?
And who they're going to talk to.
Exactly. So a lot of the times, unfortunately, I think a lot of the homework is more listening.
Based.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's more listening, things like that. But what I do like to do sometimes is I will assign them maybe, listen to a song, watch a series, do something, and then I want you to come to class and tell us about it. So I'll have them do that. I'll have them do that. I will also have them try to read something, and once again, just kind of basically give them some background knowledge so they can have a discussion during the next class period. To me, that's the best way to really do homework.
Can you bring up like current affairs for them to have a discussion
Oh,
about?
absolutely. Especially if they're higher level students.
And, like debate,
we've done
people pick
debates.
sides.
We've done debates. We've done mock job interviews before. All sorts of stuff. And I'm planning on doing some of that here in the Czech Republic too, doing some debates, some mock job interviews, you name it.
Nice. Wow, Chad, you're a real grown-up.
Well, as you said, Jared, we are adults.
Do you fear not getting across to certain students?
I think that's always in the back of any teacher's mind. I would say really what I worry more about is having the students just not be engaged and want to do it. Because as a collective, if the students are like, "Oh, I don't really care," and they're not into it, it kills a lesson. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, but it's also the struggle with those people is there's only so much you can do to get them excited, because it probably at the end of the day has nothing to do with the class itself.
Exactly.
That does suck though, where it's like, man, I guess I just have to accept that.
Right.
This person doesn't care. It's like, all right, well, I guess it is what it is. But I think also with time you get used to that.
Oh,
where
definitely.
it's like, yeah, you can't save them all.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to talk about with teaching?
I think we've really covered the bases pretty thoroughly tonight, Jared.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. That was great. Thanks for giving us a little crash course on Chad as a teacher.
We'll have to do
TEFL, TESL 101.
We'll have to do a 102 episode at some point.
102 or 201?
Either or.
Okay.
Either or. Just the next step up.
One or two.
Whatever.
Okay.
Some
201 seems like, or 102 seems like too slight of a step.
I mean, that 101's the first semester, usually 102 second semester.
Oh, right. Okay.
But maybe we'll level up to 201.
We'll discuss it. We'll discuss that halfway through our next episode.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, Jared, I think it's that time, don't you?
I know. People almost thought we forgot.
Oh, we did not forget. That's for sure. All right, Jared, I'm going to give you my first one because this is my biggest fear to hear as a teacher. This is German. And, oh, shoot, I may have already said this one on another podcast, but we'll see.
Off to a good untranslatable start.
This one is, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof.
I think you did do that one before.
Oh, damn.
I don't remember what it means, though, to be fair.
Really? Okay.
Because that's what I mentioned before. I forget everything you say as soon as I hang
up. You better not forget all these good teaching words, though, so you can really be a hit at all the teacher parties.
I do know I'm going to recast it to you and say,
there you go.
Ich verstehe Bahnhof means I understand trains. Is that what you said?
Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof.
Oh, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. I recast it awfully. Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof means I only understand train station.
Which means...
But I don't remember what that means.
Means I don't understand anything.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It just means okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Flemish one for you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Stur auf Kat. Cat is what you think it is.
Okay.
Cat.
Right. I don't know what everything else is though.
Stoer. Maybe it's stoer. Uve. I feel like there's more because Flemish has some Dutch influence in it. That's why I probably need more something, but I'm not doing. Anyway, what it literally means is send your cat.
Send your cat. I have no idea.
Just the literal actually means is don't show up.
Oh,
send
okay.
your cat
Send
instead.
your cat instead. Okay, that's a good one. All right.
Yeah. Send your cat.
Nice. All right.
Hey, so I was thinking about showing up. How about you just send your cat instead?
Right. Exactly. All right. So this one is Swedish. TEFL mellan stolarna, which the literal translation is "it fell between chairs."
It fell between chairs. You forgot to do something? Something crossed your mind and dropped off at your mind?
Kind of, yeah. Kind of. I would give that like a half ham horn.
I need to redo my soundboard to make it. I can make it. I can't do half ham horns, but it takes some
Okay.
work.
Well, put that
I have
work
to do
in charge. But right here it says the meaning is it's an excuse you use when two people were supposed to do it, but nobody did. But now apparently,
Oh yeah, I've given you that one before, by the way.
What?
I've given you that one before. Now I remember
Oh
it.
shit! Really? You've given me that one? God damn! All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Chad is 2 for 2. 2 for 2. Everyone.
all right. Well, here I'm gonna give you another one because this is my last one. Hopefully, I'm not 3 for 3.
But we could at least remind the people what it was.
That's true. That's true. All right. So this one is Dutch. Leeds voor een appel en ei kopen.
Okay, it's apple.
Yep.
That was apple.
An ei.
Say it again. Say it again.
Leeds voor een appel en een ei kopen. Kopen is kaufen. To buy.
You're right. Something about buying an apple. I don't
and
know.
an
Let's
egg.
buy an apple.
So buying something for an apple and an egg.
Oh, is that cheap?
Yeah, hit that ham horn, my man.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It only cost an apple and an
Yep.
egg.
So something very cheaply. Yep.
All right. I got an Albanian one for you.
Okay.
Futjakot or Futjakot. Maybe Ja. I don't know how they do their J's over
Me
there.
either.
I could type it into my translator if you want.
Up to you.
But the literal translation is launch with no result.
Launch with no result?
Launch with no result.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, I'm going to stop trying to type it in. It's either Futya or Futja.
Okay, what?
I'm distracting
what
myself
does it
now.
mean?
Doing or saying something stupid without forethought.
Oh.
Launch without
that
result.
makes
So,
sense.
you know, essentially just doing something with no plan.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so, yeah, makes sense. Another Albanian one for you. Shkel e shkol.
Which means?
Which literally means step and go.
Step and go. Is that like dine and dash? I don't know.
No. It's something done haphazardly or messily or
that makes sense.
you did a real step and go job
Okay,
there.
so like half-assing something kind of?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Nice.
I believe there is also I believe in this. See, this is not. I'm not. Never mind. Let's just keep
Okay.
going. Do you ran out, right?
That's it.
That was
Yep.
your last one. I have one more for you. It's Danish.
Okay.
Du kan få en prutt og pille I.
Which means
You can have a fart to play with.
you can have a fart to play with. I like that one, but I don't know.
It is used as an answer when someone asks you to do something and your reply is no.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's like, hey, do you want to go hang out?
you can have
can
a fart to play with. That's a good
instead.
one. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think it seems like it didn't say this, but I think it seems like if you really don't want to do something with someone,
Right.
is how it comes
Okay.
off at least.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Makes sense.
But what you should do instead, if you don't want to hang out, is listen to Hiatus Coyote because they're my new favorite band. I've heard about them. for a long time, and I never bothered to listen to them. And until today, I was trying to think of a good song of the pod.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, Hiatus Coyote. They're, I believe they're from Australia, which they are. They're from Melbourne, as I think you would say over there. And so I chose them for the song of the pod. It is Jekyll is the song. And I gave Chad a couple options. And then as I was giving him options, I was listening to other songs, and I realized I could have given him options all day long.
Oh, for sure.
And so the song is called Jekyll. And it's a band of a woman that sings and plays, and that song specifically, she plays piano, and then there's another keyboard player, and then there's a lot of singers and a drummer, and what they call themselves is the main singer, her name is Napalm, and she's the singer songwriter, and she stated that she had a vision for Hiatus Coyote brand as future soul. And so I was trying to figure out how to explain the vibe, because it is like an R&B-ish kind of jazzy funk soul vibe-ish.
Oh, definitely.
And on Wikipedia, one of the genres that they give it is blue-eyed soul. Have you ever heard of blue-eyed soul before?
No.
I haven't either, Chad, but I had to click on it. Can you take a guess? Because I think you can.
Just white people playing soul music?
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
That's apparently a term.
Interesting.
And it's been going on since the 60s, which I guess makes sense. I'd argue probably was going on before that. If this is a term, then I'm going to argue that this has been going on before that. But yeah, it was rhythm and blues and soul music performed by white artists. The term was coined in the mid-60s to describe white artists who performed soul and R&B that was similar to the music of Motown and Stax record label. Though many rhythm and blues radio stations in the period would play music only by black musicians, some began to play music by white acts considered to have soul feeling, quote unquote, as they have it on Wikipedia. And the music was then described as blue-eyed soul. Oh, man. That's a term that I feel like is ready to be thrown out the pasture.
Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, regardless of what they call it, the song is great. Hiatus Coyote is great, and they have great backup singers.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Napalm has a beautiful voice. In other songs, this song not as much, but in other songs, I was amazed by the drums. Like the one I mentioned to you. I had to mention it even though
Right.
we said we weren't going to choose that song. The drummer's great. The main keyboardist, because Napalm, even though she plays keyboard, she's not the main keyboardist. Right. The keyboardist is great, too. I just loved it. I thought it was great. And I'm going to keep listening to them, probably.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would,
so
too.
our song of the pod is Jekyll, is what it was.
Right.
And it was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
What do you have anything to say about Jekyll?
I mean, as you said, they're really, really soulful. And I just love the way they kind of play with different time signatures.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of their songs were like that.
And I think Future Soul is a great, I don't always like to brand things, using certain terms, but I feel like that's very fitting of it. Because it seems very progressive. It's not just these aren't simple chord progressions, really. They're not simple time signatures.
No, it is. I mean, especially as people like us that enjoy kind of the technical part of music too.
For sure.
It's technical stuff. I mean,
very technical.
There's a lot of time signature moving around and a lot of timing changing, and not like that song we had a while ago, ATOS. Right. It's not like a shocking time signature change. It's all very fluid, and it's all beautifully put together. Where even though there's a lot of timing changing, it's not so in your face with it. It's more just like a A-B sort of section to a song the way they do it.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And I loved it.
Exactly.
And I'm honestly gonna keep listening to them.
For sure.
Shout out to Hiatus Coyote. So look forward to that. Look up I'm obviously gonna tweet out Jekyll Untranslatable 1, but go from there. Keep going.
Exactly. So please check out our Twitter at Untranslatable 1. We'll have that out for you guys when this episode drops. But Jared, what else is pretty difficult? Not only is Hiatus Coyote's music pretty difficult, but the Czech language is also very difficult.
Yeah.
And so we're finally coming back with a Czech word of the pod.
Because Chad we need to prove that Chad's not over there not learning the language, especially now that we know polyglot con's coming out. Can't out-chat embarrassing us.
Exactly. Got to hold the torch for the Untranslatable podcast. But our Czech word of the pod today, it's actually a phrase. Well, I guess it's technically 2 words, but it's a phrase. And the phrase is účet prosím, which means the bill, please.
Okay.
So I used this today when I was at a restaurant. So there you go.
What's the literal translation? Is just bill, please?
I think so, yes. Mm-hmm.
Is prosím, is that please?
Yes. And it can also be you're welcome.
Oh, kind of like bitte.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, okay. I like that. See, I like that you're bringing practical stuff.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I don't want it to be some sort of fun phrase or something. I want it to be stuff that you're actually going to use.
And like I said, I use that today.
Basis.
Usually when I think of these Czech words of the pod, I try to think about which Czech words did I use today. So yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, we've come to that time where we need to give our listeners out there our quote of the pod. And I wanted to give a quote today by John Dewey, who is a very important player in the educational reform. He was also an American philosopher. I can't speak English right now.
Philosophizer.
Thank you.
First time.
And psychologist. And his ideas have been very influential in education and also social reform. So he is a very important player in education. And our quote for our listeners tonight or today, whenever you're listening to this, is, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. John Dewey.
Yeah. I think that speaks so much more than just a classroom, though, because, I mean, for example, we were talking about, shout out to, once again, our shout out, Ayanna Presley. That even, as we were saying earlier, that even transfers to simple things like teaching people under the age of 70 that they should probably vote, not just during the presidential, presidential too, right, but that the midterms are just as or sometimes even more important depending on what's happening.
Exactly. And
for example, now I'd say the midterms are pretty important, especially if you're voting for someone like Ayanna Presley.
Exactly. I would agree. Well, I hope everyone out there has enjoyed.
Granted, that's not midterms.
Right.
Sorry, I was just correcting that. It's just not midterms that they're voting for.
It's all important for sure. Yes. Right. So to all our teachers out there, make sure you're teaching today's students to prepare them for tomorrow. And we hope you all have enjoyed this lesson, learned some useful TEFL or TESL terms, and we are looking forward to hearing from you on our Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Feel free to hop into our DMs on Twitter at Untranslatable1 and shoot us an email at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. We'll have another episode coming up for you very soon. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.